In this tutorial, I'll give you a brief explanation of how RISE writing tests are scored and how you can access your students' results. The RISE writing test is administered only twice, once in 5th grade and once in 8th grade. On both occasions, the students will be given one prompt, and it might be either an opinion or argumentative prompt or an informative prompt, and you won't know which ahead of time. The students will be randomly assigned as they sit down and open their test. The students' responses will be scored according to a rubric that has 3 parts: statement of purpose focusing on organization, evidence and elaboration, and conventions. You can view the rubrics on utahrise.org. They also appear in the student's test in the testing interface, so students can use the scoring rubric as a guide as they write their response. Once students have submitted their writing tests, you'll be able to see their scores within 24 hours for most students. You can do that by going to the reporting site on utahrise.org and logging in. Once you're logged in, your first screen will be a dashboard that gives you your overall test results for every subject area. Click on the name of the subject area, in this case, summative writing, in order to explore further. Your next screen will show you your overall performance on any tests within that subject area. Click on the name of the assessment to explore further. Or, if you want to skip straight to reviewing the student's rubrics, you could click on Download Student Results from this screen. If you access your roster and look at the roster of scores, you'll notice that it's not got very much information. It will just show the overall score for each student. And you'll have 3 summary lines for the state, district, and school above the summary line for your students. So you can review a quick list of students' overall scores. To access the more specific information about how students were scored, click on Download Student Results, and then you can access their individual student reports, or ISRs. Once you click on Download, you'll need to select which test. It might be pre-selected. And then which roster. It might be pre-selected, or you could enter in a student's SSID or state student ID if you only want to print a single student's test results. You can export either the student individual report or a data file with the test results in it. And for the individual student report, you can export that as a single PDF with all the reports in one document, or you can separate them out into multiple PDFs. And you can opt for a simple or detailed view, but for the RISE writing reports, it won't really matter, because all you'll be looking at is the rubric and how students performed according to the rubric. Once you've generated those, check your inbox, and once the file is done processing, it will be available for download there. You can click on the file and download it. If it's processing, it will show you that it is still processing. And you do have a limited amount of time to download each file. Once you've generated a download, you have 30 days to save it to your computer. After that, you'll need to generate a new download. Once you open up the students' individual student reports for RISE writing, you'll see that their raw score is reported at the top, and then it has the rubric and how the students scored according to the rubric. So the rubric has 10 points total, and conventions make up 2 of those points. Evidence and elaboration is 4. Purpose, focus, and organization is another 4. And it will provide a description of how the students scored as well as a numeric score for each part of that rubric. One thing that will definitely stand out about the RISE writing test is that there is no proficiency level for the student. No proficiency level is reported for RISE writing. The score is a rubric score only, and that's as much scoring information as the test will produce. Because there is no proficiency cut score for writing, there is no proficiency level. So you can leave it up to your team to discuss, based on the rubrics, where you think student proficiency should be and what score you would expect. There are some students who do not have their response scored. What they get instead is called a condition code, and on their individual student report, it will list one of these 6 condition codes. And here's what they mean. You might see that a student did not enter a response, and it will just say blank. Student did not enter a response. A more common one is that a student may have had a response, but it was mostly composed of text copied from the prompt or the passages. And in that case, the code is insufficient original text to score. If the response is lengthy but has nothing to do with the purpose of the prompt, it might be labeled as off purpose, or if it's a lengthy response that is unrelated to the task, it might also be labeled as off topic. If the response is in any language other than English, it will be labeled as uninterpretable language. And if there's a condition code, but the scoring system can't determine which code applies, it will be labeled as a non-specific condition code and just not scored. For most students, they're going to get a score back within 24 hours. For some students, their tests are going to be pulled for scoring validation, which means a human is going to score it and check that score against the auto score. And for those students, you'll get their scores back within 5 business days. If you want to learn more about the auto scoring, you can find the auto scoring frequently asked questions document on utahrise.org under resources, and it will explain how the scoring engine works, how the scoring validation works, and what the condition codes are, and how a student is assigned a condition code. One other thing to know about how writing scores are reported is that if you want to look at your whole school at the same time, you can get an aggregate report. To access the aggregate report, you must have a school level account, such as a school report viewer or a school administrator role. Then when you log into Rise Reporting, you'll be able to click on Summative Writing grade 5 or grade 8, and then see a list of rosters at your school. And you'll have this option here, an expandable menu called Writing Dimensions. In this aggregate view of writing dimensions, you'll see areas where more students tended to score higher, highlighted in green, and areas where more students tended to score lower, in red. You could always use the Print option to save the view to an Excel spreadsheet or PDF. If you have any questions about Rise Writing, its administration, or scoring, please let me know. You can reach me at brooke.anderson@jordandistrict.org or at 801-567-8393.